This morning, a day after the statement you have credited to our newly crowned Olubadan, I sent out a post to the whole world. And the title of that post is, "Please give us Ibadan State now." In my statement, I said I am, with all due respect, standing by Olubadan Rashidi Oba Ladoja Arusa 1, not out of primordial or sentimental reason, but on the side of equity, justice, and fairness. Otherwise, I'm saying that the demand made yesterday by Olubadan on our behalf is legitimate, equitable, and fair. Why am I saying this? I am saying it because, let me first of all say that 23 years ago, on Saturday, April 9, 2002, I was elected the chairman of the Publicity and Protocol Subcommittee of the main committee demanding for the creation of Ibadan State. You can now see that Bọ́sẹ̀mán sọ ní èdè tiwa ní pé tèmi ó di púpọ̀ nínú ọ̀rọ̀ ìpè fún ìpínlẹ̀ Ìbàdàn. But in supporting that, as I've said, we are not leaning on primordial or emotional posts. It's only fair. Fair in the sense that of all the pre-independence divisions in this country, Nigeria got our independence on October 1, 1960. That is, before October 1, 1960, all the divisions in Nigeria, be it Abeokuta Division, Bini Division, Enugu Division, Sokoto Division, Kaduna Division, including Ibadan Division, they have all become states except Ibadan. And if you are standing on the point of fair, F-A-I-R, being fair, F-A-I-R, that is equity, fairness for all, how come Ibadan has not become a state since her peers have all become states or state capital? So this is a book written by me in 2004 titled Right Time. And God's time is always the right time if you are faithful and patient. Things will come your way at the right time. So the demand made yesterday by Olubadan Ladoja on behalf of millions of we Ibadan indigenes, residents, and well-wishers has come at the right time.
Thank you very much for this. I have read certain publications to underscore the fact that this call is not new. From books by Chief Akinyele to Professor Toyi Falola, and even to the book you referenced, which you authored, The Right Time. What, in your opinion, do you think has been the drawback all along? Given, as you have also mentioned, the history, the size, the pedigree of Ibadan, what's in your own? Because you've also mentioned fairness. So what is it that in all these years has made it impossible for Ibadan to have been able to achieve this so far?
Thank you very much. There is a gentleman who was a military governor of Niger State. When civil rule came after military rule in this country, in 1999, he became the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His name is Senator David Mark. When he became the President of the Senate, he exclaimed that, "Oh, how come?" You are almost repeating his statement that he made when he was Senate President, that how come Ibadan has not become a state? And he said, if Nigeria, I'm quoting him now, If Nigeria is to have another state, that state must be Ibadan. That's Senator David Mark. And people since then have been asking that question you asked me just now. What has been the cause of the delay? Honestly, I cannot answer it. What has been the cause for the delay of creation of Ibadan State? That non-Ibadans, but people with the fear of God and sense of history, judgment, have also been exclaiming. But let me put it as we believe that it's the will of God. But now, the indices justifying the demand for creation of Ibadan State have come to the open. And it's only fair that they be considered. Let me quickly state some of the indices. The British, before they left our shores as colonialists, in their own wisdom, decided to make Ibadan the capital of academics, commerce, culture, and so forth. Hence, they cited Nigeria's first university in Ibadan. That is the present University of Ibadan. In 1948, Ibadan had the first dual carriageway in Nigeria. In 1955, because the colonialists were expecting the late Queen Elizabeth II of England on a state visit. And from Gate to Mokola was designed as one of the routes she would take, which she took. So they thought that stretch from Gate Agodi, passing through Africa's first television, WNTV, now called Ibadan Network Center of NTA, down to Mokola roundabout, should be a dual carriageway. How come the British made Ibadan all this? It's only fair that we, more so after getting independence, should rationalize that a city that made the first university in Nigeria, the first to have a dual carriageway, the first to have a teaching hospital called UCH, and many others, should not lag behind.
There are many people who wonder that for a city that was the intellectual capital of Western Nigeria, at some point it experienced a major setback. Maybe after the incursion of the military in our system, at a point it became known for untold things, even in terms of politics, politics of thuggery, brigandage, many questionable characters became the emblem of the city, and this spiraled into leadership. Can you, sir, look back and say maybe this perhaps stalled the growth and trajectory that Ibadan had in those early years?
I am not a stranger to your station, particularly the television arm, where you go down into history like we are doing now, or by the question you have just asked me. And I've always responded without bias that our listeners, please, if you think there's any modesty in my answers or statements in this program, please forgive me. I am going to fall on empirical facts. By the grace of God, I served as press secretary to 4 governors of old Oyo State, 1 civilian, 3 military, between 1983 and 1989. One of my bosses said it was time to cancel that notorious stigma given to Ibadan or Western region as Wide West, and they changed it to Wise West, WISE. So our listeners will agree with me that the impression you have from your question Yes, he said Beganje, political and many things, all those have gone. As we say in Yoruba land, ó ti di àfìsẹ́yìn tẹ́gùn fi aṣọ. That was the old Ibadan or Yoruba land. We are now wise. You said it. You said the seat of academy in West Africa. The past is gone. Today, you are conducting an interview with me, which is scheduled by your station for broadcast. But this is 2025. Excuse me, 1962 of the white year of Western region to 2025. That will be about almost 50 years ago. Gone. 63 years ago. Thank you. Gone. This is a new era. Era of development, era of technology, era of prosperity.
Look at the sensitivity around this issue in terms of the political configuration of our country now. Because this call is now, many people will argue that it's being modeled up by so many other calls of state or people or societies calling for their own state. We have Ijebu calling for their own state. Even in Lagos, you have people asking for a Ikorodu state. If you go to different geopolitical zones of the country, and this has led many people to wonder if we will not end up having up to 70 to 75 new states. What is it, in your opinion, sir, that you believe places Ibadan ahead of all these calls, knowing that it is not possible for us to create 50, 60 new states? What is it that makes Ibadan so unique that even if it is going to be one state to be created, then it has to be Ibadan State?
That's not my statement. It's a statement accredited to Senator David Mark, who was the president of the Senate decades ago. He will have seen the papers before he made that statement, which is valid till today. Ibadan, in evolution, is similar to the United States of America. Because if you look at the USA today, I understand their president in the US today, I understand he has a German root. Thank you. So as you have German Americans, you have Italian Americans, African Americans, descendants of the slaves that were transported from Africa to the USA and other parts of the world. As a result, Ibadan is a conglomerate of Yorubas who fled southwards when the old Oyo Empire started to crumble in the 19th century due to the transigence and betrayal of Are Ona Kakanfo Afonja to Aláàfin Aole. As a result, Yoruba fled from the invasion of Ilorin, which was seized by Afa Alimi, a Fulani jihadist, who he and his group said they were following the direction given to them by their predecessor or their father, Usman Danfodiyo, thank you, that they should go and dip the sword into the sea. As a result, if not for Ibadan army that went to confront the Fulani jihadists at near Osogbo, which has led to the war now described as Jalumi, perhaps, God forbid, Yoruba land today will also have been counted as parts of Nigeria were during the tenure of the immediate past president of Nigeria, General Muhammadu Buhari, that some Fulani and some other elements in the north were claiming that Plateau, Benue, and some other areas of Nigeria were conquered by their forefathers. Ibadan saved the Yoruba reputation. Not only did they confront the jihadists at Jalumi. They drove them outside the walls of Ofa. As a result, in Ibadan today, all of us, all indigenes of Ibadan, with due respect, we trace our roots to other parts of Yoruba land with pride. I cannot begrudge any part of the country demanding for their states. You cited some areas. It's their right, constitutional right. It's only that during civilian era, this process, demand for a new state, must start from the State's House of Assembly and pass on to House of Rep, Senate, the National Assembly, before assent can be given by a sitting president. But during military era, it was by fiat. That's why records show clearly now that all the states that were created in this country were during military era. People were not consulted. So everybody has a right, if they think they deserve a state, to ask constitutionally. There shouldn't be any violence or disruption of peace. That's why today our Olubadan, Kábíyèsí Aláìlúwà Oba Ladoja, yesterday formally demanded for the creation of the long-deserved Ibadan State.
Thank you for where you anchored your thoughts, sir, because to many people, this in itself constitutes its own challenge, because in a democracy, trying to create a state involves a lot of things. Negotiation, consent.
And we have crossed those bridges successfully.
Maybe not.
Dugbe, Agbeni, cross over Aminigun, come to Oditamerin, Gege, cross over to Iwo Road until you reach the area called Ashejire Dam. Ashejire is the boundary between Oyo and Osun State. Is that a town anymore? Ibadan, as it is considered today, is larger than some African countries. Not to talk of states in this country. And it's not just a matter of land mass. It possesses all the infrastructure that can sustain the state we are demanding for. If we are given tomorrow, and by the grace of God, it's going to be earlier than later, all the infrastructures, secretariats, schools, from primary to tertiary, all are available. And in the present day, the world does not depend again on crude oil or petrol. They say the world will now be run on agriculture. Look at the landmass and look at the vast cross-section of crops that are available in Ibadan as today. So sustenance, unlike the concussion, must never be overlooked. Unlike states in Nigeria today, some states depend entirely on federation account. What they call it in English language, the drops from federal government. No, that will not be applicable to Ibadan State because there is the bright openings for agriculture and post-products from the farm and the mineral resources.
So at this point, what role do you think, sir, that the Ibadan people, residents, traditional institutions, civil society, elected representatives, what more do you think they can do in joining forces with this agitation for the creation of Ibadan State?
Please pardon my expression. Please, if it took a non-Yoruba and some other people to have seen the need for Ibadan State long ago, you can now imagine the feeling of we, the owners of Ibadan State, projected Ibadan State. As we are running this broadcast, they are listening to us all over the world. It's for us to join what Olubadan Ladoja said yesterday. Go and guard your loins, my people, for the expected Ibadan State, not only to be created, but to sustain it. So we are waiting with open arms for the federal government of Nigeria to announce the creation of Ibadan State and they will be surprised at the support they will get from the indigenes, the owners. Yorubas have never backed away from responsibility. So the expected Ibadan State is not going to be different. We are all ready to make Ibadan State a model as the foreigners, people of Western region. See what they turned the Western region to. El Dorado, first television in Africa, first commercial radio station in Africa, first free education, compulsory and free education, agriculture, housing estate, industrial estate. See what our fathers and mothers have done in the past. We are waiting. But the state, by the grace of God, is not going to be a defeat.
Let's look at some other aspects as we try to conclude. So, there are many people who worry that if Ibadan were to become a state today, and you have also alluded to it earlier, to the point of fairness, that it may lead to what will be left of the present Oyo State to be in a complete state of unsustainability, given the fact that all along Ibadan has been the centerpiece of major developmental activities in Oyo State. That what will be left of the current Ogbomoso, Oyo Town, Okiogun, be enough to sustain.
Today, please remember, I think the demand by a federal legislator from that area you have just mentioned now, I think he has passed second reading.
Yes.
They must have thought about to do inoculation. Let them have rules, definite rules, as it was in the old Western region during the regimes of Premier Obafemi Awolowo, Premier Samuel Ladoke Akitola. Fast forward, even during the era of Chief Bolaidi, UPN days, states under UPN, they had Council of Obas members in their school, executive councils of states. They deserve roles as the status, representative of the house. Hey, that's what made Premier Samuel Ladoke Akitola of Western Region in 1962 to reduce the salary of the Odemo of Ishara, Oba Kisoya, to 1 penny a year. The government said,
This call for the creation of Ibadan State is more than a political request. It's a vision, one that speaks to justice, recognition, and the unfinished story of a city that has given Nigeria so much. Yet, such a vision will not be realized by words alone. It would demand unity, persistence, and the courage of Ibadan's sons and daughters to stand for what they believe their city deserves. So, as we close today's conversation, let us not only celebrate the past, but also take responsibility for the future, where Ibadan's greatness in culture and heritage finds equal expression in governance and identity. I must especially appreciate Bosun Alayode on this